maybe not all, but it's designed to train, motivate, and encourage, and I hope you derive at least one of those benefits. Make some noise if you're excited because today is going to be the biggest day you've ever had in the history of sales.
Yes,
Woo!
biggest
Yes,
day
sir. Yes,
ever.
sir. I'm
Hey.
pushing past all
Is that
this.
Aisha Phillips returning to SLS? So good to see you this morning. All these returning faces. And she's not the only one. Many folks are coming on back to SLS. And that's because you find out that outside of SLS is a whole other world of stuff. And it's just cooler here. When you got those free leads, you got the training, you got the support. One of these days, not today, but one of these days, maybe we will let the folks who have been out and about and they've come back, and maybe some of the new folks that have joined, we can talk a little bit about what's happening out there in the industry because it could help either a person that's joining for the first time to hear a little bit about what the other opportunities are like, or it could help a person who's thinking about leaving. Believe it or not, I know it's shocking, but there could be somebody on the call right now who's thinking, I wonder what life is like on the other side. Well, I can save you some time. We'll get together, we'll talk about it, and you can see some of the stuff is the same. When you're outside of SLS, you got similar products, and of course, it's all sales. And some of the things that people say that's the same, but the culture, the environment, the resources are a lot different. And so you'll find that out when we have a chance to chat. Who knows? Maybe we'll talk about that sometime soon. But right now, I want to talk about production. And the reason that I want to talk about production is because some of you had some challenges yesterday and you were trying to figure out what happened to me. Was it me? Was it them? Was it the industry? It was just, well, I can answer what's taking place. Sometimes when you have some challenges, like a day that you had yesterday, you have to realize that it's our approach. It's our approach. So when the day starts slow, many times there's a sense of desperation that starts to build up. And the more desperate we become, the more shortcuts we take. The more shortcuts we take, the worse the result. And the worse the result, the more desperate we become. So next thing you know, you're just grasping for straws by the end of the night. And then if it's not going your way, at some point your brain switches off and says, you know what? It's just not my day. We're going to try this again tomorrow. But as a professional salesperson, let me give you some advice that will really, really help you. There's certain things that we can do that create consistency. And if you master certain approaches, there's really kind of no such thing as a bad day. There's a lot of techniques that we have. And if you recognize certain techniques, you can be successful. For example, Rory has a technique. If you talk to Rory for a prolonged period of time about a particular subject, Rory will repeat himself, right? Now, he doesn't repeat himself to the point that it annoys you, but he repeats himself and he'll say it. He'll even say out loud, I know I'm repeating myself, and he'll say it. Now, this is a teaching technique that he has acquired over the years because what'll happen is when you walk away from Rory and you think about the conversation that you had, you hardly ever forget what he said because he said it so many times, you can almost hear his voice repeating his instructions.
Do you know why I do that, Henry?
Why do you do that, Roy?
Because I started when I was 22 and I spent all those years talking to seniors. And with seniors, if you don't repeat yourself in a nice, polite way, they will forget. But it's all those years I was trained in my 20s and 30s talking with seniors.
And that technique, everybody, is something that helps. It helps everybody because I actually have a pretty good memory, but I enjoy it. I enjoy hearing things multiple times because it just locks it in there. And and so that technique that Rory just shared with you is part of a communication with seniors. You don't want to make them feel like children because they're not. They're smart as whips most of the time. But as we all get older, right, one of the things that does start to change is our ability to retain information. So you do start to repeat yourself a little bit. It's a teaching technique that helps when you're training salespeople, but it's also a technique that helps when you're speaking with clients, right? So you want them to make sure that they remember a particular point, that maybe it's a good company. AMM's a great company, been around. for over 100 years. And that's awesome. Because you think about it, a company over 100 years? Wow. Like, how good do you have to be in business over 100 years? It's pretty awesome. So when we got the chance to partner up with a company that's been in business that long, we were impressed. They've been around 100 years, man. We hope we're around 100. We're not quite 100, though. We're 50. Now, that person's going to remember that AMM's been around over 100 years. It's a teaching technique that not only helps when we are teaching one another, but also helps when we are educating our clients. Some people, believe it or not, I've heard that I'm long-winded. Can you believe that? Wow, not Mr. Stewart. I said, boy, Mr. Stewart, he can talk. And that is a technique that I picked up over the years because I'm actually intentionally long-winded. And that is because when I was talking to seniors over the years, one thing that seniors hardly ever said when I finished talking was, I need to think about it. Does anybody know why?
Because you went through every detail of it.
That's right. In my long-winded way, I allowed them to think while I was talking. That's why sometimes I'll speak at a pace that allows you to absorb everything that I'm saying. And I will speak long form and I'll use stories so that you're able to think while I'm talking. That way, by the time I finish talking, you don't feel mentally rushed. You're like, well, I've been agreeing with everything that he's been saying. I'm absorbing everything that he's saying. And so two parties equally informed seldom disagree. So if you're having a conversation with someone and in their mind, they're kind of shaking their head the whole time, you're moving at a pace that they can absorb the information. It's sinking in. They're like, yep, I agree, I agree, I agree. They are in effect selling themselves. So when you allow a person to sell themselves, you don't have to sell them and you're going to close a lot of business. Many times when I was making sales back when I was a producer, way back when I was helping a lot of clients to be successful and make money, what I found is that when a person loves their family, they're already inclined to get insurance. What does it mean to be inclined? Anybody know?
Influenced.
Leaning towards.
Leaning towards,
Leaning
inclined,
towards,
influence, moving in a direction. Sometimes you see a tree and it's on an incline. It's already inclined to fall. So if you just step back and literally let nature take its course, the tree is going to fall. Anyone who loves their family is already inclined. They're leaning. They're going in the direction of doing something to protect their family. So if you are receiving resistance to a sale, okay, it's never real. Because you think about it, they're already inclined to do something to help their family. So anytime you're receiving resistance, it's never real unless the person legitimately doesn't love their family or is so angry at the moment that they're willing to make a decision that's at a disadvantage to their family. So knowing this, knowing that anybody who loves their family is already inclined to buy insurance, there's never a need to be rude or pushy because everybody's leaning in the direction that you want them to go anyway. What we have to understand is that when a person is resisting getting insurance, it's hardly ever the reason that they're telling you. And it's almost always financial, right? It's almost always financial. So let me explain. How much insurance could you sell if life insurance was free? You're like, I probably sell 50,000 a week, right? If life insurance was free, nothing else your client's talking about would matter. Would they have to talk to their kids if it was free? No. Would they say, I don't want to, put me in a pine box. I don't believe in insurance. Call me back next week. If insurance was free, we just probably sell 100,000 of it a week. And who would say no? Hey, do you want your family to get a check or not? Yeah, I think I want them to get a check. So understanding that at the core, no matter what they're telling you, at the core of it, it's usually financial. Then it allows you to move past smokescreen objections. And that's where the expression, I know that's right, that's where that comes from. Because it's a penicillin, if you will. It's an answer that kind of answers everything because I know we're not having a real conversation anyway. Follow me? So somebody says, I got to talk to my kids. And I know that it's really a financial situation that we're talking about. I'm just going to brush past that in a polite way. I know that's right. Hear the chuckle? The chuckle's important. I know that's right. It's letting them know in a nice way, I'm not taking you seriously. All right. And I'm not going to be rude enough to say it out loud. But my polite chuckle, I know that's right. This is not a serious conversation that we're having. And then my next sentence is going to reinforce the fact that I know it's not a serious conversation. Oh, I got to talk to my kids. I know that's right. Say, how old are your kids, by the way, if you don't mind me asking? Oh, they're so-and-so and 42 and 56. That is awesome. How often do you get a chance to talk to them? Do you talk to them more than you want to or not enough? Oh, I don't talk to them enough. When's the last time you talked to them? Oh, I talked to my kids last week. All right, you guys had pretty good conversations. Who do you find giving more advice? Are they giving you more advice nowadays, or are you giving them more advice? You know, kids get past 42, they think they're smarter than you. You know that, right? Oh yeah, they all think they're smartest, but who's the smartest? I won't tell them. I know it would hurt their feelings if I told them the truth. But you're still smarter than them. You know I am. Well, listen, I want you to talk to them. As a matter of fact, our program is designed for you to talk to your kids, talk to your relatives, talk to everybody. In fact, we have a program that's going to benefit you. It's actually going to help you by talking to them. So I'm all about talking to kids. But when we talk to the kids, we got to make sure we got something to talk about. So right now, we don't have any good news to talk to your kids about. The only thing we can talk to them about is mom loves you to death, but God forbid if she passes, somebody's got to come up with $15,000. And I don't want to have that conversation. You probably don't either. So the conversation we want to have with the kids is mom loves you to death and she did something about it. And that's what I'm actually trained to have that conversation. If I was going to talk to your kids and I were going to deliver some good news, or if I was just going to be on the phone while you delivered some good news, do you think it's better that we come up with a plan that you can talk to them about the cremation that you have funded? Or are you really a big believer in being buried in a cemetery, or do you not have a preference? See, it doesn't matter what they're saying. That first initial buyer's resistance, it's not real. It's just something people are conditioned to say to make you go away. And it's not because they're not inclined to want insurance. Why are they trying to make you go away? Because if you stick around, they're going to what?
Have to make a decision.
Have to make a decision. They're going to have to buy insurance. They want insurance. They're already leaning that way. It's just for years and years, they've been able to push people off. So nobody said, get out your checkbook, you're buying today. And that's the part that they're trying to avoid. Why are they trying to avoid that? Multiple reasons. Psychologically, some people feel like it. You ever heard the expression, it just got real? You ever had something happening in your life and it's hypothetical? And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, reality check, it just got real. Sometimes when you're actually going through the process of take out your checkbook, we're going to take some money out, we're going to talk about beneficiaries, we're going to talk about your final affairs, we're going to talk about funeral homes. For some people, it's, oh my God, it just got real. But it's a conversation that they need to have. For others, it's just a little bit of human selfishness. It's like, I know at some point I need to start paying this $100 a month or whatever the number is. But for every month that I don't pay this $100, I can use that $100 to buy lottery tickets or go to Biloxi or buy more cigarettes or buy little figurines off of QVC. So it's like, I know I need to do this. I know I do. But the longer I don't, I got extra money to play and do things that I like. And so at some point, you've got to bring them down to earth, right? You got to bring them down to earth. And that's why the PEC is called the Pre-Enrollment, what? Conversation. Right? Pre-enrollment conversation. This business is really easy when you just have conversations with people. Many of us, when I listen to these recordings, we're trying to sell them. And you really don't have to sell insurance. Insurance sells itself. I mean, think about yourself right now. Ask yourself 2 questions. Number 1, do you love your family? Yes or no? Everybody got that answer in your mind? All right. God forbid, if you pass, do you want your family to be in a good situation or a bad situation? You got that answer? That's your insurance sale. That's the whole sale right there. And you can actually say that to a client. Say, listen, Miss Janie, let me share something with you. And I totally get it. Nowadays, in this economy, things are going, the bad stuff's going up and the good stuff's going down. Right? Price of gas going up. Price of eggs going up. Income going down. So I get it. Right? I totally get it. But one thing that's going up is medicine. Your medicine's getting better and better. So people are living longer and longer. So that's good. So I hope that I'll be around for a long period of time. I hope that you will as well. But at the end of the day, what it comes down to is really I hear everything you're saying, but it comes down to 2 questions. Number 1, do we love our family? I'll go first. I love mine. Right? Your turn. You love your family. And it's okay if you don't. I won't tell them. But do you? You do? Okay, good. I'm just checking. Because nowadays, some of these kids, these kids get on our nerves sometimes. So sometimes you love them every day except Wednesday. Wednesday, they done got on your nerves. So that you still love them? I'm just checking. Are you good? All right, so I love my family. You love your family. We're on the same page. Now, God forbid, if you were to pass, and I want you to live to 157. Okay, but God forbid, if you were to pass, do you want your family to be in a good situation or a bad situation? I know it seems like a simple question, but how would you answer that? A good situation. Okay. Would you agree that God forbid if you passed today, all right, and you got $10,000 worth of insurance, and you are telling me you want this $17,000 service, and you got these bills, and you're telling me about your daughter who's a ballerina and her mom doesn't have enough money to put her in class, would you agree that even if we don't call it bad, right this second, your family's kind of like not in the best situation, or we might even have to say kind of in a bad situation? Would you agree or disagree? Yeah, okay. If I could fix that without taking food off the table, can you think of any good reason to leave your family in a bad situation? No, probably not. Okay, then let's focus on that. Let's focus on getting your family in a good situation without having to eat bologna sandwiches for the rest of your life. Fair enough? All right, let's go. I'm really good at it. Watch. If you do eat bologna, at least we'll get some cheese on it. A little bit, you like Miracle Whip or mayonnaise? It's an important question here. Mayonnaise, all right, you made the right decision. So if we do get bologna, all right, at least we'll get some cheese and some mayonnaise on it. I'm just joking with you. Let me show you how this works. And then get their mind to understand, because Amy Warwick said, how do you get over financial situations? That was her question. You get over a financial situation, my understanding, the seniors never as broke as they're saying they are. Because most of the seniors that are broke they're the ones that are faking to act like they got money. The ones that are saying how broke they are the ones that they're trained to give you that response because they actually do have money and they buy a bunch of stuff. Story for another day. But did you hear the conversation that I just had? Isn't that really the bottom line? When they get done going in circles and this and that, I know that's right, McJones. But let me ask you a question. You can boil it down to that. You love your family or not? I'll go first. I love mine. And they get on my nerves. I will admit, last Thursday, for about 2 hours, I stopped loving everybody. They got on my nerves, but then I got back on track. By 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I was back on track. All right. Does your family get on your nerves sometimes? You stop loving them for about 32 minutes? Okay, you're allowed. But you love them today, though, right? Okay, good. So we love our family. Bam. So the only real other question is, at the end of the day, I hear you. Up, down, left, right, money, budget, Social Security, inflation. I hear everything you're saying. But we got to figure out, do we want to leave our family in a good situation or a bad situation? If you had a choice, can you think of any good reason to leave your family in a bad situation? Probably not. All right. So that's all we got to figure out. We got to figure out, how can I leave my family in the best situation I can leave them in without eating bologna sandwiches unless you like bologna. If you like bologna, it's fine. It's a win-win. If you like bologna, Miss Jones, then it's a win-win. I'm just joking with you though. But seriously, let's just focus on that. And I promise, if I start talking about anything you can't afford, right, we'll just stop talking about it. For the rest of this conversation, we're only going to talk about things that you can afford that will leave your family in a good situation. Fair enough? All right, let's start. First, let's figure out what we're trying to afford. So God forbid if you were to pass, tell me, let's walk through what does your final day, if you had a final day that you want to have and it's dignified and your family won't be stressed out and they won't be embarrassed and they can honor you the way that they want to and the way that you want to be honored. Give me an idea of what that looks like. Have you ever seen a service that you said, you know what, I want my service to look like that? Yes. Talk to me. Tell me, how long ago was it? What happened? Did they have flowers? Did they have birds? Did they have trumpets? All right. Something like that, it would cost about this. And something like that would end up, if you wanted to make that happen, we're talking probably $5 a day for something like that, just realistically. Now you can do things for $3 a day, but what you're describing is probably about $5 a day. So if we looked at 5 candy bars a day, and again, don't be embarrassed. If you're like Mr. Stewart, I cannot afford 5 candy bars per day. I just can't. I know it sounds crazy. Or if you're like Mr. Stewart, if I'm driving past McDonald's and it's a value meal and it's $5, I got to keep driving. I don't have $5 a day. If that's the situation that you're in, please don't be embarrassed. I need to know that. We'll modify it. But if you do drive past McDonald's and they got your McNuggets and fries and you want one, can you make that right-hand turn to the drive-through? Or do you have to drive through and get oatmeal? Just talk to me. Let me know what do you really. I mean, I can drive if I want to. Okay. Could you make that right-hand turn every day if you want? If you wanted a McGriddle every day, could you get one? Or is it like, Mr. Stewart, I don't have McGriddle money. You could? Okay, great. So if we can get your family covered for the cost of a McGriddle, we're good? Yeah, okay. Let's look at the McGriddle plans. Right? We won't look at anything that costs more than a McGriddle. McGriddle's like $3.99. We won't look at anything more than that. We're just having a what?
Conversation.
Conversation. There's really nothing to push back against. There's really, people have all these objections. There's not much to object to. Two parties, equally informed, seldom disagree. Once we understand what you're trying to do on your final day, once we understand what type of bills exist once you're gone, once we understand who you love and how you're trying to help them, once we understand what your budget kind of looks like, what is there to fight about? Right? If they're fighting you, it's because you haven't talked to them about something that makes sense to them. You haven't presented a number they feel they can afford, or you haven't educated them and they think they're okay. You ever have a conversation with a client, you're like, they're so confident. I don't understand. Like, how can I understand how bad of a situation that they're in? And they don't seem to get it. And that's because two parties equally informed seldom disagree. That client has a policy through their bank for $500,000 and they're paying $10 a month for it. So you sound like SpongeBob Crazy Pants trying to offer them $25,000 worth of insurance for $179. You with me? So as they're listening to you talk, they're thinking, it's poor child. I'm going to be polite, but I don't know why they're trying to create this sense of urgency. I'm good. My bank, I banked at my credit union for 20 years. They wouldn't lie to me. They sent me this thing in the mail. They gave me $500,000 worth of insurance for $10. I'm good. I was just checking. The only reason I was on the phone is I was going to get another $500,000 for another $10 if this agent happened to have it. But since all they got is $25,000 for $179, I'm good. Because they don't understand the difference between whole life and accidental death. They don't get it. They don't know that agent had them clean sheet their application. So they're a smoker with all these different illnesses. And they're like, man, your policy is so high because your policy is going to pay out. The policy they have isn't, but they don't know that. That's why the party doesn't start to win.
The policy
review.
The policy review. If you learn to do a good policy review, and now the client understands the position that they're in, good or bad. It is so easy to make sales in this business. Like once a client, part of the reason clients don't make a decision the day that you want them to is they don't know what they have, good or bad. So when you're talking, a lot of times, even if they are thinking about getting some insurance, they're thinking to themselves, yeah, but you know what? I don't necessarily want to make a decision right now because am I good or not? And they're going to try to do a policy review by themselves. They want to get you off the phone so that they can call their insurance agent. They're not going to call the insurance company. They're going to call their insurance agent. And what's their insurance agent going to tell them?
They got a good policy.
You're
Everything's
fine.
good.
Ms. Jones, everything's good. You just put that policy away and stop talking to people. Or the insurance agent, if they're sharp, what are they going to do?
Sell them more.
Add more, sell them
There
more.
you go. Oh, who you been talking to? Oh, really? You think you need some more insurance? Well, let's talk about it. So the party doesn't start till the policy review because when a person's already inclined to buy insurance, they love their family, they're already leaning towards getting insurance. And then they find out that either A, I've got $20,000 worth of insurance and it's in good shape. So now I know for sure I only need $15,000 more or 5,000 more or whatever. Now they're ready to buy. Or if they find out the truth in the other direction, I thought I had $20,000 worth of insurance, but I just found out I got 5 or none. Now I know I didn't want to spend this $179 that you, as the agent, have been talking. I didn't really want to do it. That's why I was putting it on hold. But now that I found out my actual situation, I don't have a choice. This insurance thing that I used to have in the maybe I will, maybe I won't category, it just became a priority. It's kind of like finding mold in your house, right? You got other stuff is more important. You think you're like, the bathtub had that leak up there a little while ago, and then I caught the leak. I wonder how much water is up there. Like, did I catch it in time? I think I did. Let me put a fan on it. I think I'm okay. But if somebody says, well, let's just test it. And they cut the sheetrock out, they put all the doohickeys up there. It's like, you've got mold up there. Ugh. Now you can't put it off. It just became a priority. It's like a policy review, right? Now you got to do something about it. When it's maybe yes, maybe no, I don't know. My kid's been sniffling a bit. Could it be? Could be allergies. Once you know it's mold, but now you got to do something about it. And some folks have moldy policies, right? They have moldy policies, and they're kind of like, I feel like something's off with this policy. I hear these terminologies. I hear people around me. They talk about term. They talk about IULs. They say whole life is good. I've had my policy a while. I mean, I don't understand it, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Then you put the truth in front of them and they have to make a decision. So a big day is really kind of easy. You might say, Mr. Stewart, it wasn't easy for me yesterday. And there's a lot of days it doesn't feel easy. It doesn't feel easy when you're trying to talk people into things. It doesn't feel easy when you're arguing all day. It doesn't feel easy when you don't do policy reviews because your client is flying blind. So they're like, I don't know, you say I need some insurance. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. But it becomes really, really easy when you're having conversations with people, when you're using stories to sell, when you're doing policy reviews so that the person understands their situation, when you have a conversation about their financial situation, and then you match the love they have for their family with what they can afford to do for their family. And sometimes your client can't afford to do everything they want to do for their family right now with this policy at the point of sale. But that's no different than life, right? Isn't our entire life that way? As a parent right now, you can't always do everything you want to do for your kids right now. You're like, if I want my kids to have 10 pair of Jordans, but I can't do 10 pair, but I can do one. I want my kids to have every single video game that they want, but I can't afford every single video game they want, but I can do one. I want my kids to live, we need a 3-bedroom apartment so my oldest son can get his own room, all right, or a 4-bedroom. So I can't do a 4-bedroom, but I can do 3. So at least him and his older brother can share. Our entire life is just doing the best that we can with the resources that we have at any particular time. So this is not a new concept to our senior friends. Hey, the service you want to do exactly what you want to do for your family, it's $52,000. Now you got a goal. If your health doesn't change over the next 5 years, you can continue to build insurance until you get that 52,000, and that will do exactly what you described that you want to do for your family. But I know your finances don't allow you to do 52,000 right now, so we're going to do 22. Because 22 will cover your family's basic needs, and then the other 30, I'll stay in contact with you over the next couple of years. If your circumstances change, if you get a little cost of living increase with Social Security, if you get that truck paid off, when did you say the truck's getting paid off? In 9 months? I'll call you back 8 months from now when you've got a little bit of extra money in your budget from that truck being paid off or whatever the case is. But it's just a conversation. Salespeople go broke. Don't be a salesperson. Consultants get rich. Be a conversationalist. Be a consultant. Understand how to have a conversation about a person's situation, understanding that most of what they say is a smokescreen objection. Because if insurance was free, everybody would get it. They'd match the coverage. So it's about money 9 times out of 10. There was a speech, Otto Neptune, who's an old SLS legend he gave many years ago. So there's 3 number 1 objections that you have to feel: the money, the money, the money. And he was right. It's really about the money. If insurance was free, everybody would match the coverage. So stop getting bogged down in smoke screen objections. Stop getting bogged down in things that aren't real. If your client loves their family, they're already inclined, they're already leaning towards getting insurance. You just need to understand what is their vision for their final day. What is the family's situation if they were to pass? What is that client's true financial situation? Miss Jones, if you wanted to do exactly what you described for your family, that would be like, 10 candy bars a day, realistically. I mean, I know you wouldn't eat 10 candy bars a day, but if you did, all right, this is about a 10 candy bar a day situation. And maybe even 5, because candy is expensive nowadays. I went to the gas station and a Snicker bar was like $1.99. So it's actually technically like a 5 candy bar situation. Now, again, you might not say, Mr. I don't have Snicker money. I only got 2 Reese Cup money. That's fine. Just let me know what your situation is and we can build something that will help your family. But stop selling. Stop using all this fancy nonsense that I see. I look on the internet and it's all these little one-hitter quitter dumb phrases. Well, when they say this, just say this. It's ridiculous. First of all, it's too much to remember. Trying to remember 15 different, one-liner comebacks. We're not used car salespeople, right? I watch social media. It's a bunch of 20-year-olds that don't know anything about sales. The level of sales that they sell, I didn't sell like that since I was selling candy bars when I was 6 years old. It's juvenile. When you are a consultant, you don't need gimmicks. When you're a consultant, you don't need lines. When you're a consultant, you just need to know how to have a conversation. Your client respects it more. They understand that they're in communication with an elevated sales style. They don't even feel sold. They feel consulted. Mentally, when you're helping your client, it's not an adversarial situation. Mentally, you're not on one side of the table and they're on the other, and you guys are firing. They're firing objections, and then you're firing one-liners. That's not real sales. That's kiddie sales. Real sales is when mentally you're on the same side of the table with your client. Got it? Mentally, you're on the same side of the table with your client, guiding, mentoring, and consulting them, not on opposite ends trying to close them. You're not two attorneys in a room fighting it out. You're a consultant. You're on their side of the table. Mentally, the client should feel like they're on the same side of the table with you, showing you their situation and being guided to a solution. Does it make sense? That's how you stop having bad days. Start having
So strong, Mr. Stewart. So strong, sir.
I'm glad. I hope we use it. I hope we use it. And how you use it is by making sure that you have at least 6 good old-fashioned conversations every single day, where you have a complete explanation of our entire program from beginning to end in the presence of all relevant decision makers, to which you receive a yes or no to your offer of insurance, including your request for referrals, also known as a PEC. If you have 6 of those, you're going to win. You're going to win because either that client that you're talking to, you're going to solve their problem and help them get some insurance, or they're going to refer you to somebody else that needs your services. And if you have 6 of those, a day, 6, 7, 8 of those a day, 1 or 2 of them, if 1 or 2 of them say yes, even if 2 say yes out of the same household. So if you had 6 conversations with 6 different families and a husband and wife said yes in one of those households, 2 yeses a day is $100,000 a year. Minimum. 4 yeses a day, $200,000 a year income, minimum. 6 yeses a day, $300,000 a year income, minimum. You're not going to go 10 for 10 or 6 for 6 or 7 for 7 because not everybody's got the health and got the wealth. But you shouldn't be struggling. You shouldn't have a 0. If you had a 0 yesterday, you weren't having conversations. You start having conversations today, you won't have a 0. We're going to wrap this call up with a reminder: we make excuses and those count. Well, I say the more believe, the more you sell. If you are going to get serious about your business and close a bunch of business today, then when you say no excuses, all those count, say it like you mean it. If you already know, Mr. Stewart, I'm not working today, I just came to this meeting. As soon as I get off of this phone, I can't wait to go to sleep. Don't say no excuses, only results count, because you don't mean it. Only say it if you mean it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
No excuses, only results count.
Results count.
Oh,
Let's get so the results count.
Be my baby.